you know, you're evicted out of the house and all of that. The truth is, one way or the other, as a result of various cultures and traditions, norms and values, you've had instances where the society, directly or indirectly, have aided men to be unfaithful to their spouses over the years. And I'm not talking about even 50, 70 years. Over the, you know, centuries, it's been like that. So now that same society now, maybe because of a bit of exposure, civilization and all of that, is still crying foul that we have, you know, high rate of infidelity or divorce rates and all. It doesn't add up. You look at a lady now, you know, we talk about it all the time, that there's so much emphasis on the girl child in terms of parenting, that we ignore the boy child and teach such a child how to be respectful and understand that he has no control over a woman's body and all of that, you know, teach him right values. The truth is, the focus has always been on a lady all along, on the girl child. If a boy at 16, 18 has a girlfriend or has 2, 3 and is frolicking around, being around here and all, you have heard several people, and I'm talking about educated people you think should know, say things like, oh, he just took after his father, don't mind him, he's a man, he's showing his masculinity and all of that. But a lady at that age can't do it. You begin to hear things like, oh, you're whoring around and all of that. These are the issues. The society cannot back up a particular gender's, you know, randomness and then castigate the other. Then when it comes to issues of relationship or marriages, you now cry foul that, oh, we have the spate of broken relationships or marriages is high. It's hypocrisy.
I was talking with a married man a while ago, and I was like, you're cheating on your wife here, does she? He said no, she trusts him. It just didn't make sense to me. Your wife trusts you, and you're still breaking that trust. And I was like, what happens if your wife cheats on you? He was like, no, she can't. That he's a Yoruba guy. He said she can't. That it is an abomination in their culture.
Exactly.
So I was like, so it's fine for you as a man to cheat on your wife. It is okay. But when your wife cheats on you, it's an abomination. What do you expect her to do? He was like, that if she finds out he's cheating, he will beg her now, he will get her gifts. She'll forgive him. He knows her buttons, yes, he knows the buttons to press, that she'll forgive him. I was like, so what if your wife cheats on you? He was like, no, she's leaving, that's the end of the marriage. I was like, wow.
And you have been cheating all this while.
You know, he said that's Yoruba culture, so that's the society where we are in.
Well, it may not be Yoruba culture, but
don't feel that it's their right. It's okay if they cheat on a woman, but a woman can't do that to them. You understand? So that's just the mentality most men have now.
I understand the place of culture. And
I don't even think any culture supports infidelity.
I
think it's important we make that clear.
I understand the place of culture or the society, because I know to some extent the society has its own influence on an individual. But I believe that the society isn't responsible for your indiscipline.
Exactly.
If you come from a home where discipline is being meted out to you, you would define the part you want to toe. It is those who have failed use the society as an umbrella to canvass or carry out some of their ill practices.
Exactly.
Because I come from a home where my father and mother never did that, and they gave me the proper training. Where will I now get that? Is it the society?
Yeah, maybe some friends in school. Some persons are
it's possible as well. Peer pressure.
School peer pressure and all that.
When you have a proper foundation, I know you're going to make your own decision when you grow up, but your decision to a great extent will be in line with where you're coming from.
Well, it depends as well. You know why I said
you have a point. That's why I said you have a point saying society. Yes, that's where the name is a man came from. Because if you come from a home where you have that discipline being administered,
you know the home is not the only agent of socialization.
Exactly.
There are so many places.
You have the offices.
You have the church. Even the churches now. In entirety, I'm not going to say society. Society has its own influence, but whereby you have a good foundation. No matter the influence the society is meting out there, you will still know where you're coming from. It will put you to some extent in a pace whereby you don't allow that society's influence to rub off on you.
Let me quickly also say that you may have a good foundation, really, and still turn out, you know, the opposite. That's why you hear instances of, a pastor's child, you know, committing certain things, and you're wondering, where's that coming from? It doesn't add up to, you know, his background and what he's doing. And that also explains the Yoruba adage of Toba Bioma Matsunraiko. In other words, once you are trained well, there's still the place of personal
training yourself.
development.
Yeah.
You need to train yourself. So at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual to own up to
Exactly.
those ideals of discipline and commitment
That's true.
that love requires when you're in a marriage or relationship. Love is trust, and if you genuinely love someone, you won't want to break the trust or even hurt the person in that sense. She said, earlier that it's more of those guys are committed, to the homes that they have than the individual, which is their wife. Because if, or their husbands, in whatever case it may be, if you truly love someone, you won't want to hurt the person deliberately. You won't want to even see the person in pains and all of that. And no doubt about it, cheating, infidelity brings about hurt, betrayal, and all of that. And sometimes that trust may never be regained. We've heard of instances where quite all right, people cheat and then they forgive their spouses, and the marriage, even gets stronger, as it were, over time. We've even heard of instances where men, caught their wives red-handed and they forgave, and, going forward, things worked out pretty well. But I think at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual. Having said that, I think we should also look at the medical aspect of things. Now, I'm bringing medical into it because of the makeup of people. We are different people with different bodies, and that also means that we have different rates of hormones in our systems when it comes to hormonal imbalance and all of that. And that's talking about sex drive. Yes, we've talked about the notion of I can't eat okra all the time and all of that. That those who genuinely are suffering from an extremely high sex drive that their spouse can match up with, and as a result, they think that the best thing to do is to cheat.
I want to believe
No,
there is
during dating, not when you're married.
Well, but again, according to you and generally the Christian belief, you also do not engage in sexual relations during dating.
Sexual discussion.
How will he know if he's whole?
So the man hope you are ready for the task. I'm a lion in the bedroom. So hope you can handle me in there.
Wait.
there's a difference.
How do you know you have a very high sex drive when you're not active?
You would know.
You
Because
would.
if you're saying somebody has a high sex drive, that sounds like, are you talking about somebody who...
The urge.
If somebody's libido is high, that's a different thing.
That's why I said medically.
There is that which is not even too much. I mean, you can always...
It's not a
your wife can
different
always
thing.
work on it. But if it is someone who cannot control himself, that one that has become a problem, that's different.
Now here's the thing. We should understand again.
And that one is even as a result of what you've done to yourself over time. It's
No, it's natural. It's a natural thing. You'll hear from doctors. I've heard doctors over time. We've heard of several medical reports and studies over time that certain people have that rare, high rate of, maybe testosterone and all of that they need to take suppressants to suppress it. You talk about people who have high levels of estrogen, testosterone and all that. These things happen. It's natural. No, it's natural. Here's what I'm saying. Now, these things are natural. The medical issues quite all right. It's the same way you hear things like, maybe a couple trying to, have a child, and hear things like, you need to boost your hormones, so take certain, drugs to address that so that you level up. That's the same way you have some people who naturally, not on drugs or anything, they just naturally have that extremely high, and they need to take suppressants to, reduce the levels. Now, for people who have such, high levels or extreme levels, they cannot know how much of a sex drive they have if they are not active. And with religion and the place of those who hold religious beliefs like that, they are meant to be whole and pure even before marriage. So how would they know if they're not active in that sense? So I'm not justifying that act. I'm just saying some people, as a result of their medical condition, do that.
Can we take
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Please, your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Steven. I'm calling from KC.
Oh, okay. Thanks for joining the show. You have the floor.
Yes. Please, I love the point that you raised about sex drive.
Oh, okay.
Because this didn't really happen to me a few months ago.
Okay.
I had a girlfriend, and according to what she said, that how do we know what she asked? Actually, it's true when you are active, when you get to know if you are compatible together. Actually, we had some, normal movements together. So I got to notice that even with just touching, touching her, she's already,
yes, around,
charged. And so And like I have the highest libido, so and she's not. So it's something we talked about, and she suggested that we should just call it a wrap, and we did, because my own is very higher than her, and most times, almost every time, she complains about being tired, I should not touch her, stuff like that, and that doesn't work for me. So, and I don't want to be going from one lady to another, so I just have to cut it short. So I love the point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was because
you know that there are drugs that can help. There are drugs
that's what I said.
A woman or a man's libido increase.
I said the same thing. If it's too low, doctors will recommend drugs to level it up to the expected standard.
Now the woman can actually start taking it sometimes.
But from what
sometimes you can take those drugs to increase her sex
drive. That's why I said this thing needs to be discussed during dating.
So you can't get out of it. I mean, there are so many people. There are a lot of us who didn't have sex before we got married.
Nobody's even subscribing.
And so the thing is, you just tell yourself, if what, let's say one is probably has had the experience before, but it's just being celibate, and probably the other hasn't had it before. Whatever the situation is, you talk about it. Okay, I think I have a very high drive. I don't know about you. You've not even done it before, so we can't tell. But I think I do. And
then are you willing to work on it?
Are you willing to work on it, or it's a conversation you can have before
marriage.
And when you get married, you can actually work on it. I remember during counseling while I was getting married, the woman that counseled me said that, of course, both of them, they didn't have sex before they got married. And so eventually they noticed that before anything, the man is done, and she's like, I've not even started. So, they had to talk about it, and somehow, with help and counseling, and also being committed to the fact that this is my wife. I'm not going to go out there to get somebody else. They worked on it and they are good. Another lady, during the counseling, we had this group counseling because I belong to a ladies group. She also talked about when they got married, she was always tearing, like always almost bleeding after every episode and all that. So they had to get medical help. They had to work on it, and now she's good. She even has a child now. They worked on it. So there's so many things that can happen. But then, I believe these things are not excuses, because there are people who do not have sex before getting married. They get into the marriage, they see their weaknesses, they work on these weaknesses, and they all get better.
The beauty about all of these things again is it's a medical condition that there are drugs to address in terms of either reducing the levels or increasing the levels, as it were, be it for the man or the woman. Having said that, again, when you have these discussions, as we are saying now that they should have during dating or courtship or whatever it is you want to call it, it's not also cast in stone, because you do not know how extreme those levels are until you're active in that sense. And I'm saying that because if someone tells you, I have a very high libido, in your head you can just think, oh, okay, maybe 4 times a week, oh, okay, I should be able to cope with that. And then you get into it and you realize it's even like 5 times a day, every day.
Doesn't the person go to work? When you come back from work, you want to eat, to shower, I'm wondering, are you going to prepare the children for school the next day?
You won't be amazed.
Time.
Well,
5 times a day.
There are various shades to it. That's why it's 50. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed that some people, again, it's rare. You don't have them in probably millions. It could just be in tens or hundreds of people globally, but you may be lucky to have such people, or such a person rather, in your corner. And again, as I said, it's not a justification, but some people will come from that angle. And that's why I talked about, the antidepressants and all earlier, that drugs to it to either reduce it or increase the level and all of that. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to individual, but do not be surprised if as I said earlier, if you're lucky to have someone, in that extreme or rare case, it may be difficult to handle. You hear things like, she's not always there for me, or he's not always there for me, he's not matching up with my energy, and all of that, because of how frequent
I think
the demand
really
is.
Need to, if you're in a relationship, if you're in a relationship, or you're married and you notice that your partner has some needs that are more than yours, it's not for you to just be recalcitrant about it. I mean, you should be concerned. You should show some level of care. I mean, both of you should work towards making it, making everything work and all of that. I think communication is very important. And when you genuinely love someone, you want the person to be happy. I mean, if I say I love you, and one of the ways I can express that love to you is by making love to you, I should care about you enjoying it. I should care about you being satisfied side. And so the onus is on me to work on myself, to do whatever it takes, to ensure that to a very large extent I'm able to match up. I mean, if that's what love really is about.
Matching up may be difficult. You know why? Quickly, you know why? Now we're talking about
advocate, I guess.
No. You know why it may be difficult. Just a sec.
Okay.
We're talking about the frequency now in terms of demand. That may even be a different issue in terms of the libido. You could also have the preferences within sexual the sexual act.
Okay, you can talk about that before.
That as well. That may be talked about before marriage, quite right. But how do you know? That's another thing. There's the light aspect of things. There's the hard aspect of things, and all of it.
Yeah, are you ready to experiment? Yes, I'm ready to experiment.
Well,
So
again, your level of experimentation may differ from what the person wants.
Sweetheart,
the person may be extreme.
Agreement. I agree. It's not composed that I agree all the time. Okay.
See, let me say something based on
Please.
this now. Based on this, my own advice is, if you're dating, for example, you have to discuss these things. Do you understand? Because I've seen situations whereby one party is agreeing, the other party is not agreeing. And for the sake of the marriage working out, they go into it. And that's when it leads to somebody going out. Because the other party is not agreeing. And for the fact that he's not agreeing, he sees you as somebody who's trying to deprive him of his comfort.
Didn't you have this conversation
just a moment.
before time?
That's why I said, for these things not to happen, if that party is not agreeing to your style or your level of enjoyment, it's better you just leave it there.
Exactly.
Just the way that guy said.
Exactly.
But if they were not
Because
active
you're
at
trying
the
to
time,
say-
there was no way they would have known.
Because
And both of them are going to be exploring.
Discussion.
At the end of-
open
when they get
discussion
married.
without. In fact, some people hide under religion.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
why
another
it's
thing.
dangerous. Sex, somebody said sex is 80% of what keeps every marriage. Forget about money.
Okay.
Because you will see a situation whereby
that's
80%.
no
I'm
sense.
telling you.
That would be
That's
relative,
no. I
Well,
think
that's
one part.
the fellow's
Just
opinion.
Go and do more research.
It's not about research.
You know
it's
why
about
I'm
me. I
saying
know
this?
what
You know why I'm
keeps my
saying
home.
this? Some persons will tell you, no matter the money you give me, you see this sex, it cannot replace it. So you just have to understand and do what is needful. That's why I said, if it comes to that point, you guys have to discuss and agree. If she says she's not good in that, or she doesn't have that level, but she's willing to work on it, then you're on the safer side.
Exactly.
But if she says that, just a moment, but if she says that,
She doesn't want
I
to.
don't want to go that route, this is my level, and you feel you cannot cope, it is better you both tell yourself the truth.
Okay, Chama, let me get your thoughts really. In an instance where there's an agreement, all of these discussions open, there was no facade of religion or what have you, everything on point, and you guys agree, and then you get in and you're like, okay, be like, say this one don't pass my boundary, I be past my power. In marriage now,
It's already too late.
That's the reality. You're already too late.
That's my
You're already too
opinion,
late. So
anyway.
you both just have to work towards it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it has to be
war.
a joint effort.
Okay.
You have to put in your best. Your partner has to put in his best or her best. You understand? So I don't know you're smiling at me.
Okay.
So if your man or your woman, your spouse has a higher libido than you can increase yours. You can take aphrodisiacs, right? You can take drugs that stimulate you,
But
stimulate your
please, as you take
hormones.
the drugs, ensure you carry your doctor along.
Yes, sure, yeah,
Definitely.
definitely. Your partner can also reduce his. As I said, you can go to the hospital as well and take drugs that will reduce your libido as well. So you both can match each other's energy.
level up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Absolutely.
That's it.
For me, again, I just feel that for people who are really sincere and disciplined, they can always work it out. I know a friend who was talking to me about how that he didn't like a particular style, not necessarily
Yeah,
style, but he didn't
okay,
like a
that's fine.
particular
Preference,
thing.
okay.
Exactly. But eventually, the wife loves it a lot, and they just had to find a way around it, even if it means using. Even if it means using ice cream initially, having to use ointments and all of that initially until he got comfortable with it. So I mean, there are people who really love their spouses, are ready to
make
give.
sacrifices.
They're ready to make
See, it's just
sacrifices.
discipline.
Even if you can, I'm not going to be satisfied, but let me just make sure you're satisfied. Like,
Okay.
are you okay now? Okay, thank God you're okay now. And then everybody just goes back to bed. And
See,
we are
it's
fine.
just discipline. That's the reality. As I said earlier, yes, men can. I don't look at Samson again. Men can cheat. Women can. most men, in fact, most people that cheat in marriages are men.
Yeah,
you understand?
yeah.
So men will cheat on their wives and still love their wives.
No,
you
and still be
understand?
committed to
They-
the home.
No, they will love their wives perpetual. That's the reality. They will love their wives.
don't
They will
think so.
value her. They will respect her. They will love her so
But if you
much.
respect
But they
someone,
will
if
still-
you cheat on
but
the
they will still-
person,
that's what I'm trying
Their
to say.
respect,
But they will still
their
cheat
respect
on
is
them.
based
So
on their own understanding.
it's
It might not
something.
be,
It's
it
more
may not
like
be objective.
You know when
enough.
they say that Paul said in Titus. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to the scriptures now. Paul said in Titus that your conscience can be corrupted. You understand?
Preacher
So
True.
Preacher.
so
That's been
your
said.
society,
Yeah.
your society defines or molds your conscience. So if over time you've been rolling with people who feel like, yes, I love my baby, but I still have other chicks. I mean, that's what you're going to grow into. You understand?
Okay.
You're just going to have the mentality that I love my wife. You understand? But I can still play around. I can still have some
Get it
other
done.
people, just friends,
All
just
right.
friends.
Okay.
You understand? And still cheat on their wives. You get
Yeah,
it?
I think we just have to end the
Yeah,
conversation
in wrapping
here,
this
really.
up, I
Okay.
think if you genuinely love someone, you won't want to hurt the person,
And that's
especially deliberately. You won't want the person to go through that, emotional trauma of being cheated on or heartbreak and all of that. I think at the end of the day, we should hold ourselves to the same standards we expect of others
Exactly.
in terms of discipline, in terms of respect,
just discipline,
dignity,
yeah.
and all of that. That's the way we can make the world better,
Yeah.
including our marriages and relationships.
Absolutely. Well, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we have more for you. Stay with us. iBrandTV.